When I grow up, I want to be an NBA basketball player.
When I grow up, I want to be a famous soccer player.
When I grow up, I want to be a professional football player.
When I grow up, I want to be a professional cheerleader.
How many of us grew up wanting these exact same things, yet we find ourselves accepting less than we dreamed of as a child? Trauma, adversity, unfair circumstances, you name it. Totally understandable, yet, is it really? Here at I'm 1% Possible, we explore the unsung heroes, the everyday, unassuming individuals that you may have never heard of, but they all have one thing in common. When life struck them, they struck back. Welcome to inaugural podcast, starting with one of my closest friends and personal heroes. That is Sergeant First Class retired Gregory Quarles. While you can see the battle axe in the rear, yes, he is a Ranger, but he's done a whole lot more than that. So, he was born in Asheville, North Carolina, and raised in the small town of Ringgold, Georgia. However, his life has been defined by much more than just being a Southern boy. Service, resilience, and unwavering dedication are three things that come to mind when I think of Greg. He's currently married to his wife, Brenda, and a proud father to not one, but two, three beautiful children, Sydney, Jolie, and Elijah, and a grandfather to two, Silas and Eliza. Now, as a young Southern boy, he wanted to be a professional baseball player. However, in 1993, after Black Hawk Down, the main conflict in Somalia, he was inspired to be an Army Ranger. So in 1994, wasted no time. Through the delayed entry program in high school, he signed up to be in the Army. He went to Fort Benning, Georgia, basic training, airborne school, and back in the day it was RIP, now known as RASP. From 1994 to 2004, he served in multiple elite units, including ACO 375, ACO 111th Infantry, Bravo Company 227th Light Infantry, ACO 1st of the 504th, and Bravo Company 3rd of the 505th. He's deployed multiple times, and I look forward to getting into those today, both Iraq and Afghanistan, and thankfully survived numerous close calls towards his life, demonstrating exceptional courage under fire. Now in 2004, he transitioned to be a civilian as he moved to Australia to join their special forces because it just wasn't enough. However, in 2008, he decided to come back, rejoin his home team, and came back into the U.S. Army, going through the Special Forces Assessment and Selection Program, and almost completing the entire qualification course to be a Green Beret. However, due to his foreign service in the Aussie Special Forces, he had some issues with his background and security clearance, which were later resolved. However, at that point, this hard charger didn't stop. He decided to go set up the original long-range surveillance in Charlie 38 out in Fort Lewis, and then ran that sniper section. After that, his final deployment to Afghanistan in 2012, he was with Attack Company, first of the 503rd, which is of the hallowed, famous unit in the 173rd Vicenza, Italy. However, this deployment almost took his life, but he was shot in the helmet and then survived a 5,000-pound vehicle-borne IED. At that point, he continued to lead his soldiers because Rangers don't quit, and they returned him stateside once the deployment was complete. I add a little extra in here, Craig, because most people don't realize that you and I met unknowingly at Charlie Company, 4th RTB, where you smoked the absolute loving dog shit out of me on my second unsuccessful Ranger School attempt. And then at that point, shortly after we transitioned to the soldier recovery unit at Bennett. That is where you discovered the transformative power of adaptive sports. And as none of us want to be identified as a broke dick, very reluctant in the beginning to kind of embrace that. However, no surprise, you became a champion and an advocate, earning multiple medals and setting multiple records. Cycle, archery, rowing. Did I miss anything there?
Cycling, archery, rowing, air rifle and pistol.
Just to name a few.
Yeah.
However, what I found the most impactful is this. You said, and I quote, throughout this journey, I have learned that injuries do not define me. They open new doors and opportunities. And because of that, your story is a testament to the power of adaptive sports and the unbreakable spirit of a true warrior. You continue to strive for excellence with your ultimate goal of being classified as a para-athlete, then making it on the U.S. national team, the paracycling and the Olympic team. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Greg Quarles.
Thank you.
Well, I, for one, am just thankful to know you. Obviously, we met, and I'm curious to hear your side of the story. I know how it went down on my end. But what was that initial contact like for us probably 2 or 3 years ago from your side?
Or, oh, so you're talking about not in
You-
Ranger School initially
Correct.
meeting, but so
Correct.
yeah, I was just sitting at home minding my own business, cycling and coaching like I do, and I get a phone call from you introducing yourself that Ice Strike had put you into contact with me because I had raced their recumbents, medaled gold and silver medals in on the big stage for the Invictus Games, and you were looking to get into the Army Games or the DoD
Sir.
Games on Team Army or the Invictus Games, and yeah, I mean that's how we just started talking, started giving you some info. You were telling me the plans that you had, and I was like, wow, that's really inspiring. And you had a team um, getting ready to set out to go conquer Ram. And I said, well, if you ever had a spot, I would like to be in that. And you're like, well, we have a team that's full right now. And it wasn't too long after that, I get a call. He's like, are you still interested? I'm like, interested in what? And you're like, racing Ram, race across America. I said, yeah. He goes, well, this is what you got to do. We got to come out to Borrego Springs, California, and it's a preliminary check the box event that you have to do to be able to race, a prerequisite. I was like, I've never done more than 100 miles, and this to go back a little bit, this wasn't just a regular race; it's the World 24-hour time trial championships. And
Oh, how things have changed.
yes, and yeah, that was my eye opener to ultra racing, which never I came out there to do it because I had to do it to be part of the team. Never thinking that at the end of the day I'm going to be a world champion, because we, as a two-man team, we hit 425 miles in 24 hours, and won
Oh, yeah,
our
you did.
age class, and it was absolutely amazing. Uh, I never expected. Well, I see where adaptive sports have gotten me in my life today, but you changed that even more by bringing me on the team and showing me, hey, you can do better. And it wasn't that I could do better, but show me my true uh, limits. And I like to tell people, there is no limit. The sky's the limit. It's all between our ears and
All of
in our
it.
heart. What
Uh-huh.
we can do, and our injuries, illnesses, um, don't dictate who we are. We dictate who we are and what we're going to do. It's not if, it's when.
Well, I'm honored. If I knew your full story before I asked you that question, I probably wouldn't have even hesitated. But believe it or not, when we were putting the Ram team together, I probably personally interviewed maybe 30 to 50 different cyclists from all types of injuries, bike types. And you know what really stood out? You didn't know, but I was kind of testing you. And I'll never forget you said, well, man, I'll be an alternate. I'll be a mechanic. I'll do whatever it takes to get on this team. And just like your other Ranger buddy that I'm interviewing here this afternoon, you guys have the same, I'll do whatever it takes. And that's really what I was looking for as we put the team together. Obviously, we came up with a plan, but they never survived first contact. So we we did our best, but I knew after honestly not finishing enough races by myself that it's really all about how you adapt and overcome. And if you don't have that mindset in life, I would say, but I think ultra is probably the most closest thing to a life journey in one event. Um, the highs, the lows, the challenges, success at the end. And the only way I've found to get through anything thus far is it's a block and tackle and then take the next 25-meter target to keep on moving on. So small, small world.
It's small attainable goals. When you realize it don't matter how big the race is or how big the endeavor that you have in front of you, you break it down into small attainable goals. Oh, we've got 3,000 miles, but if you break that down in, oh, here's 5 miles, here's 10 miles, here's 30 miles, here's 100 miles, like those are all attainable and can be done. And you just keep doing those over and over. And when you have that dedication, that no quit attitude, and you're wanting to, you're not only proving something to yourself, but you're doing this as us as adaptive athletes and those that have stood before us and got me to where I am today. We're doing it to inspire and motivate and show those that may be sitting at home on a couch or in a bed dealing with their injuries. They just had surgeries or they just found out they got these illnesses, sickness, injuries, and they're like, my world's over. I was that person. I thought because hey,
So
I've
was
got
I.
a broke neck and a broke back. I can't lead soldiers. I can't be part of a team. I can't be competitive. My life's over. No, it wasn't. That chapter of my life may be over, but just like a book, you flip the page and a new chapter starts. You open a door and it leads into a new room. And when you realize that our books aren't 2, 3 pages long, our books are never ending, and we just keep busting through those doors, kicking those doors open, and assaulting that room, assaulting the objective, hitting it with authority and aggression, and
Spoken like a true Ranger.
yeah, and at the end of the day, we win that battle, and that's what I'm here to prove and continue to prove and help motivate and inspire others. Um, because I wouldn't be here today if it wouldn't have been those before me that helped started paving this path. And those medical providers and OTs and doctors, now there's some doctors told me I could never ride an upright bike, but the OTs and PTs and
That sounds
people like that is
familiar.
like, hey, you're going to do this, and and put me on a recumbent, and that was truly how you and I met, was because I rode a recumbent unknowingly to you. My last race when I took gold, and that was my last time ever on a recumbent, because I'm like, I want this next level, and UCI and paracycling doesn't recognize recumbents, which is wrong in my book. They want to put us athletes with spinal cord injuries and vertigo on the most
Unstable platform possible.
unstable platform, a upright tricycle that you can fall over in a flat parking lot on.
Uh-huh.
In which you're more stable on two wheels than you are those three wheels because of the high center of balance.
100%. Yeah, it
And
really, it doesn't make any sense. But, eventually I think I do not look forward. I've told you this many times, to you being on a trike next to me, knowing that that means your upright days are over. But selfishly, I do. I look forward to having a having a buddy of my own that can push me beyond my own. We'll see what each one of us has on this platform. So
very much so. Hey, and don't underestimate this old fat guy.
I I did that one time. I will never do that again. And really, again, that was just the test to see what you were made of. And honestly, it's sad to say, but myself, we have a very similar story. Um, Granted, there's probably a 15-year fast forward gap between yours and mine. Um, but what I found, same struggles I've had, I'll be honest, some I still do have. I get really sick or injured. And it doesn't happen often, but it does. And then I can't train. Uh, I think it's over. Well, last race was my last race. Sorry to my sponsors. No, it's a huge mind fuck. The success came calling this morning. Rent was due every day. If you don't pay it, you're behind the power curve. So it doesn't take much. I've unfortunately found to almost put me right back to where I was. It feels like a whole different life ago. But as you're talking about, we turn the page, we turn the chapters. I don't know about you, but it almost to me feels like my life, maybe for the first time, it's really just begun being lived to the fullest. Um, and I love the U.S. Army, but obviously there's rules and regulations and the lack of freedom within that culture. And now we're kind of rewriting the whole rule book. And it's just a different philosophy how we as a team tackle things, because it's really never been done. So who's to tell me no? And if you tell me no, you better have a good reason why.
100%.
Well, I'm curious. Well, back to 1993. Young Greg wants to be a professional baseball player. Kind of walk me through that. I assume you probably played. When did you start? When did you hit your first baseball?
I think I was 3 when I hit my first baseball off of a tee, and yeah, I mean those days I think I chased more butterflies and
Of
did
course.
more flips in the field than I actually did going after a ball. But that was the fun of it, and that's what drew me into it. And as it went on, then it got more competitive, and realized, hey, I've got some skill, and the coaches that are teaching me new skills and getting better and better, all the way up through middle school, going into high school, where I was immediately I was on the JV team, but I was on the varsity team as well, as a starter.
As a freshman?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and but like back in those days, like in today's society, we got travel ball and we got all these things and the internet
Mhm.
and you're able to and cell phones, and so scouts and all this are contacting you and your family from the time that you're in elementary school. They're already looking at you, and back then you didn't know anything. I grew up in a small country town, a small high school, and yeah, there was some scouts that were looking and telling my coach, but he's not going to let me know until that day came. I didn't know any better. My parents didn't have money, all this, and so in '93 when Mogadishu and everything went down, one of the guys that I went to school with, he was a few years older than me, and his mom was my science teacher. I was actually sitting in that class when I found out about everything, and so I was like, my parents ain't. I'm not getting looked at for scholarships, like even as good
Yeah.
as I am. And I knew I had a couple of friends that weren't even starters, but they had already heard from I don't say no name schools. I mean every school is good. And I'm like, these guys are getting looked at. What's wrong with me? And so I figured, hey, my I guess I'm not as good as I think I am. And so I wound up joining the military, just on the delayed entry program to and that was I'm like, I'm going in as a ranger. They're like, well, you scored really high on all your ASVAB. You can have anything. I'm like, nope. I want to be an Army Ranger. I want to kick in doors, shoot people in the face, and jump out of planes. And they're like, well, okay. And they're like, well, this is your pipeline. And
Now, how
soon as
close was Benning to your hometown?
just a little over 3 hours, 3.5
Okay.
hours.
So I'm curious. Obviously, I'm kind of the 9/11 generation. You were active duty. You knew what the world was building up to. I'm sure when you saw that happen live, you're like, I know what this means because I've already done this before, seen this before. How did you receive the news of Black Hawk Down? I'm assuming you weren't watching it live on the TV in your classroom. How, how did information travel 15
Um,
years before my time?
well, it would. I mean, it did come on TV, but it wasn't live. We wound up hearing. I heard about it a little bit beforehand because of my science teacher, her
Okay.
son being directly involved. Like he was on the planes. He was in the direct fight. Went over. So that's how I heard about it through
Was
word
he
of
with
mouth.
Task
And
Force
then
Ranger, or was he with the 10th Mountain?
no,
Where
he
was
was
he at?
Task Force Ranger.
Okay.
He was in BCO 375.
Okay. And so at that point, I know what I felt like when I watched the towers fall, but what did you internally feel like? And what
Uh,
made you, obviously, baseball was that was it. Probably knowing our personality, it's everything or nothing.
mhm.
I'm curious, did you actually have scouts looking at you, but you just weren't being told?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Later, after I'd already enlisted, I know I'll get to that
Come,
story. I had a
come to
lot of
find
scouts.
out.
Yeah. Looking at me. But so when all that came down, like I didn't really ever watch the news. I wasn't that. My dad was military, but we didn't really talk about it. And so all I focused on was, hey, this is where I'm going. Um, is play baseball. So never wasn't ever anything on it, and so I wasn't this big. No, I loved history and I knew Vietnam and all that. So when this happened, and then I heard, hey, these choppers have been shot down and these guys have been strung up and all this, it really, and I'm getting cold chills now just thinking about it. I was like, holy crap, this isn't a movie. This is real life. And this is firsthand experience of what went on World War II, Korea, Vietnam. I mean, all the way back, and now we're we're living this in today's society, and just how bad the terrorists were and what they were doing to American soldiers. And that's I decided right then and there, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do because I can't play baseball. I'm going 100% this way. So it wasn't no, I'm teetering on the line. I went and threw everything in.
Burn the ships, as Goggins says.
Yep. And
Yep.
so go up, I take all my tests, PT tests, all that. And my parents knew. I'd never told any of my coaches. And then came my senior year, and they're like, hey, UGA, all these top D1 schools, you got scholarships to them.
Oh,
And I'm
no.
like, oh, wow. Now, my recruiter, nothing against the Army. Everybody's got to
Oh,
got to fill
they're
their quota.
glorified salesmen and liars. Don't even
Oh yeah,
trip.
he was a salesman. He's like, you can't go. You're already enlisted in the military. Uh, and I'm a dumb country boy from the backwoods, don't know any better. I was like, well, I guess this is where I'm going. And so
Okay.
I come in, basic training. I get the basic training, and all my drill sergeants are all third bat and SF guys. So all the ones from third
Wow.
bat, they had been to Panama, they'd been to Somalia, all this. And so they realized I have a RIP contract because I was a 11 X-ray. They were just beating me down every day. And the one of the guys, I was like, this is his, it was Drill Sergeant Melions, but he was Drill Sergeant Satan. I thought he was trying to kill me. Lo and behold, after I go through, because he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me to see what my limits were, I get through with that. I go to airborne school, which was a cakewalk, get into RIP. He was preparing me for what I was going to go through during RIP. And once I graduated, it all clicked. I was like, this is why he was pushing me this way. And so once I graduated and got into third bat, I was originally supposed to went to 275 and leave Georgia, but my grandfather got sick, and so they kept me there. But I went back down, and told him, um, like, hey, thanks for everything. Like, and he when he saw that light had finally went on in my head, like the smile came on his face. So
Now I want to highlight a couple things I know I see right behind you. So, two things. First question: what company were you in for basic training? Do you remember?
I was in BCO 2504.
Okay. Reason I asked, my last job was basic training company, man, and so I'm intimately familiar with how that process works. I would imagine, did you have the 14-week model, or was it different in the late 90s?
We had what was the one station unit training. So it
Right.
was you come in 30th AG, the old 30th AG. You're
It was
there.
probably in some World War II barracks on main posts.
No, it was the little. As soon as you turn on to Sand Hill, it's the brick building right there on Sand Hill on the left, which is
Okay.
now something else because they built that new big 30th AG back up behind it.
I lived right
Um,
across the street from it.
yep. And then literally the very first set of barracks, as you go past that, you go down the hill and start back up the hill,
Mhm.
was 2504, or yeah, second to 54th,
Yeah.
there on top of the hill. You had the church just down from it, and the PX down across the parade field.
So we'll put this in perspective. One, when you graduated RIP, you got that black beret, correct?
Yep.
When I joined, everybody got black berets because
Yeah.
everybody
We
wanted
can
to feel special.
we can thank General Shinseki for that, and there was a whole lot. Like, I mean, the black beret was elite. You were a ranger, everything that it stood for. The airborne units had the maroon beret, and
Green berets, that was it, right?
the green berets. That was it. And if they wanted to make a beret, why take it away from the ranger battalion? Make a different color. Now
I
I
agree.
under like later on the tan beret. I see the significance and what it meant and where it
But
came
you weren't
from.
wearing them in country, right?
No,
So it's not like the Green Berets that were in Vietnam. And they were actually wearing the green berets where they needed the camouflage.
Yeah.
It's a parade thing. It's a formality thing. My second question: were they putting hands on you in basic training?
Oh yes. Drill Sergeant Melions, like he would stand on my stomach, stand on my chest as I'm doing flutter kicks. Like there was one day we were on a run. He wasn't in the initial part of the run. Like he drove out, and so like he didn't see that I led the entire company up there and went back to get stragglers. And when we came back in, all he saw was me leading these stragglers in. He throws a Kevlar at me, hits me in the shin, takes me off my feet, and other drill sergeant's like, hey, he went and picked up stragglers. He comes over and says, get up, Ranger. Like, so,
So you graduate, you're in BDUs, right? You're actually shining black boots.
BDUs, spits and starch, which meant something. Like, I mean, you had your fluff and buffs that went to the field, but for discipline and the way it looked and the pride, I mean, you took time, you starched your uniforms. I mean, I even went so far, which it was out of regs, I would melt fishing line down the creases of my pants and in my sleeves after I starched them,
crisp.
keep them crisp. I would pull the buttons off to where I'd have no buttons when I went over it with the iron.
And then did you sew them back on after that?
No,
Or you just had no buttons on your
I
chest?
just had no buttons, but they stayed nice and flat, and you didn't
Right,
have
so
to
you
worry
never
about
got
them.
checked.
Yep.
Field craft. Field craft at its finest. So,
And when I got into the regiment, like the regular army, you had two sets of BDUs. You had summers and winters.
right.
In regiment, you weren't allowed to wear winters, so we had to get rid of all of our winters. We only wore summers with
No,
because the
what was the thought process on that?
because the summer uniforms, as you know, they have the lines through them to help with IR cam. The winters don't do that. It's only in the summer, so it helps with camouflage.
I didn't realize that.
They
So,
didn't care about us being cold.
well, no, of course not. Run faster, Ranger.
Yep.
Well, the reason why I bring that up, obviously, my generation didn't do that. And I understand the pros and cons. I tend to lean more towards let's be harder initially. But I also understand from the opposite side of things, we need a certain amount of bodies. And kids are definitely getting softer.
Well, and I'll will agree to disagree on that. All because and I don't want to see it because of another war, because of when the discipline and everything started getting taken away, and it happened in society before it did the military.
I agree.
Everything started coming down, and then they wanted. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody or anything, but
We're just
the
speaking truth
military is supposed to be for hard chargers, fighters that are defenders of this country and our way of life. Anybody can believe and do whatever they want to because of this. You can't have a military that lays down and like submits to everybody's needs of what we're fighting for people to have in the civilian life. That's not what the military is. Because when
you give
it
up a
hits
lot
the
of
fan,
your amendments don't always apply.
yes,
When you are in
100%.
active duty, that was an interesting thing I had to learn, and honestly, still probably follow, which is kind of ingrained in me. Like, my opinion doesn't mean it's any less valid. Nobody gives a shit.
And
So,
looking off of other militaries that I've worked with and served in,
right.
going into the Australian military, yes, they have a small defense force, but every single person in that defense force is hand selected. It's not just any Joe Blow off the street
We'll pay for your
comes up
college.
can raise their hand. There's 3 and 4 year waiting list. Everybody that there has a college degree. Everybody there was like a business owner, an athlete. They have something to offer along with physical fitness skills to come in. when I got in and I was in the commando course, I'm serving with people that had owned multiple businesses, true athletes, people that had been pro rugby players.
This
There
is
was a
oh
guy.
0405.
Do what?
This is 2004, 2005.
Yep.
Okay.
There was a guy that used to be the IT hacker for Pepsi, and he was a college athlete prior to that. Like these were the guys that I was going through. Like they were critical thinkers and physically fit. And if you reverse, like how you said, when I came in, we had RIP, Ranger Indoctrination Program, and it was just a hard suck fest, beat you down, but you could be dumb as a box of rocks and be physically fit.
Right.
When the whole global war on terrorism happened, they realized like, hey, we're getting some really fit Rangers in here, and they're deploying, not getting any training,
No,
OJT,
no
on the job
smarts.
training, aren't critical thinkers. And so that's why they revamped it. And so they made it an 8-week course instead of a 3-week hell week. Now you got
Okay.
4 weeks of hell week and 4 weeks of intellectual classroom stuff to get you ready, where you could come straight out of that, be on a team, and deploy immediately. And they knew that, hey, they're going to know their job, they're going to be physically fit. And not taking anything back. I mean, RIP lasted for a long time, but wars change, and
Absolutely.
the how quick and how long the global war on terrorism lasted. We were
Right.
deploying back to back to back to back, and
I
so
think everybody initially thought it was going to be another repeat of Desert Storm. And we never planned after the 100-day mark.
yeah.
And 22 plus years later, we're like, oh shit. Did, did we accomplish anything? Or did we just create another problem?
Uh, uh, that's everybody has an opinion on it. Um, I Now the way it ended, I'm real disgruntled on that. But
Understandably so.
what you have to look at is everybody like, oh, we're over here, we're doing this, we're losing people, but you're staying safe in America. We're over there taking the fight to them where their training grounds are and all that,
Right.
keeping their attention on us instead of bringing it back into America where it all started when they crashed the planes and bombings and stuff like that before.
Right.
Everybody that joined the military, it wasn't, you weren't forced to join. It was, you raised your hand. It's a fully volunteer. There was no like, hey, you're going, you're doing this. You joined. We know what we're raising our hand for, and ultimately, you're signing that blank check that we could give our life for this country. Um, Now, is there some people that not everybody that comes in exactly feels that way? A lot of them's like, oh, I'm coming in because I'm getting college, I'm getting this and that, and then they go overseas. They're like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. In reality, yes, you did. You just chose not to sign up for it in that purpose. And society doesn't look at it like, oh, we're losing all these people. Well, everybody that joined, and I'm not trying to be without a heart or soul here,
It's real
but
life.
it's real life, and we joined for that reason, for that purpose, knowing that at any given day could be our last day. But we're protecting the country we love. We're protecting the people that we love, our brothers, sisters, friends, families, all that, to be able to live and do whatever they want to with those freedoms because of what we did. Not only what we did, but our forefathers before us and those
Right.
that are after us.
Now I'm curious. I remember 9/11 happens. Obviously, kind of in the days to follow, the recruiting stations were generically probably very similar to what you experienced. However, were they giving you guys endless bonuses and hey, come on down? Or what was the feel like as a 16, 17-year-old kid going, hey, this is giving me goosebumps. This is giving me a perspective of there's a lot more outside these small Georgia towns and some baseball. Like, what does that feel like for you?
Um, Now, I, even though Somalia just happened and Panama had just happened. I mean, there was enlistment spikes, but it was nothing like 9/11. 9/11 was a huge because that was on American soil,
Right.
and it wasn't on other stuff of us going in and fighting or going in to help save people or bring people out that were supposed to be different missions, and then the war happened. This was brought to our country in 9/11. So there's a little bit perspective. Now, the recruiting stations weren't as busy, but there was good bonuses. I ain't going to lie on that uh, because I got one. That wasn't why I joined, but
No, but you weren't going to turn the
they
money
were
away. You
there.
were going anyways.
Yeah, and now when I reenlisted and I got these bonuses, I fought to get them and get to where I wanted to go and all that because I'm like, hey, I joined and didn't get my baseball future. Now this is my future, so I'm going to use it everything to the best of my ability for what I want now.
Knowing what you know now, and I already expect I understand the censor button. If you could have went back to the recruiter and said, I know I signed, but I really haven't gone anywhere. I know this contract can be voided. Would you have made that shift to go play at UGA or whatever you could have done?
No, yes, the first 2 or 3 years up until the time when I found out that I could have done that, uh, I was disgruntled. But I look at it now, even knowing, hey, I'm going to get shot or I'm going to get stabbed, I'm going to get blown up. I wouldn't change it. It if today was they're like, hey, you can redo all this all over again, starting from the day you graduate, I would raise my hand and do it again because this is what built me. This is who I am. And yes, college would have been fun and money would have been good, but anything could have happened. I could have been injured and never and I wouldn't have had the
Never been able
brotherhood
to play.
and yes, everything that I have now. Yes, I got injured. Yes, I have this, but because of my service and dedication, I I'm taken care of for the rest of my life. And I'm not using that as like, oh, I'm out here using that to the best of my ability to continue to grow and get better. And I would do it all over again. I would go back through every one of these surgeries to fight for my country, protect my brothers and sisters. Now, is there a few things that I would probably do different as far as, oh, I know this is going to happen. I'm going to invest some money here and not drink it all and piss it away on a wall somewhere. But I wouldn't change anything.
That's kind of the growing up part of the military. Uh, as we start to work through this, I mean, I know some of your backstory, some of the more humorous things that I found. There's a lot of stereotypes. You got the young, dumb enlisted private, kind of maybe through the E5 sergeant, where you, I don't know if that's by the time the prefrontal cortex kind of solidifies, and then you look back and you think, wait, I did what for the last 4 or 5 years, and why? Oh, maybe I want to get married, or why did I get a car loan for 25% interest just to have the newest, splashiest, whatever at the sketchy right off post, you know, dealership? But I want to finish up the RIT part because I want to kind of put this in perspective. My ultimate goal for this whole podcast is one, I, as I alluded to in my intro, 3 of those 4 kids are mine. And I didn't prompt them in any way, but I just, we constantly talk about what do you want to do with your life? And then knowing that, as my parents did for me, how do we backwards plan to put you in situations where you can take the steps towards that goal? Myself, for example, and I started late in the sports arena, but I wanted to swim with Michael Phelps. I wanted to be an Olympian. I didn't start swimming seriously until high school. And I was getting outclassed by 12-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed the boat. But when people say they want to be a professional anything, but especially athlete, and that's why this is called 1%. It's truly that 1% that, and I use this analogy with my son who wants to be in the NFL. I say, for example, let's use easy math. Let's say there's 100,000 kids that play varsity football in the United States. And then of that, 10% play in college, but 1%, so 1,000, play at a D1 level. Again, these numbers aren't exact, but I think it helps them understand the process. Now, of that 1,000, you've only got 12 on each team, but let's call it 10 that actually start. So now we're down to, we got 11. So we'll call it 10 easy math. That's another 1%. And then of those 10, how many of those get drafted to play? Probably less than 1%. And so that number just continues to get smaller and smaller. And then if you make it, and you're not just on the practice squad, and you're not making league minimum, your contract or your average career in NFL specifically, I believe, is 3 to 5 years. So what you already alluded to is we got to have something beyond whatever this inkling of time, a very small, looking at your grand scheme of life. If you truly only play at the elite level for 3 to 5 years, that's maybe 1% of your lifespan. Well, and I love it. I love the discipline. I love the dedication, because I think it teaches you so much more about yourself, about how to handle challenges, adversity. And just as we figured out in Ram, we're going to come up with a plan, but it's really just going to go back to block and tackle, then handle the next one, and handle the next one.
A plan is always great on paper, and it's always great until it's not.
Right. Never survives first contact.
No.
And so I'm not surprised by your answer. I feel the same way. But for all these kids and adults that are watching this, my ultimate goal, we got a lot of softness, a lot of victimhood in society today. It's just been allowed. It is what it is. I'm not here to change that scale and become the Martin Luther King, if you will, of let's go back to being tolerant, or the David Goggins. But I want to provide another perspective of, hey, look at these people that had some accountability and some discipline. And you've never heard of them. You and me on the street, we're pretty unassuming individuals. And I'll borrow the phrase that we're the kind of the gray man. But sometimes that guy's the most dangerous guy, especially in your case. Not necessarily mine.
To interrupt you on that one, I found that out as a young 18-year-old. And it took up until that point, because like once I got into regiment, I thought I was the best of the best. Nobody can beat me, like
Of
everything.
course.
And so in 95, it was 95, Hoist Gracie comes to Ranger Battalion to start and teach our modern day combatives.
Yeah, MacP.
We didn't I didn't know who he was. We didn't have UFC. We didn't have any of this
Norris.
stuff. Yeah, I knew. That's who I knew. And so this dude shows up, and I'm cut, built, young 18. I'm like, I can take this dude. He's not that big. All this, and he choked me out before I could even think what was going on. And I was like, okay, he got me once. Then he put me in arm bar the second time, and at that point, I'm like, you never judge a book by its cover. because you never know from the youngest, oldest, biggest, skinniest, the most fit. Like that most fit dude that everybody's scared of ain't necessarily going to be the one that can take everybody down. It's going to be this unassuming guy sitting over here that's being super quiet. And yeah, and so I was humbled, which was probably one of the best things that could ever happen to me and happened to me in my career, because it made me think a lot more, and it made me be more self-aware and more aware of my surroundings, and realize like, hey, I've got to look at the bigger picture and not just think because I know this. You don't know what that guy knows or how he's been trained or what he knows. And so that helped my entire career. And yeah, everybody got a good laugh, and I'm glad there wasn't a bunch of cell phones around back in those days that everybody could have videoed it and it was all over
Aren't we
the
all?
internet.
So from OSIT graduation, did you go to Airborne next, or was that after RIP?
I went to Airborne before RIP,
Okay.
and
Because
then
did you guys jump during RIP?
yes,
Okay. So the reason why I bring this up, again, let's get back to some numbers. Best guess. Now, my biggest class at basic training, we had, and obviously it ebbs and flows depending on time of year, but the summer classes are huge because you get all the kids fresh out of high school. I want to say we had probably 220. Was it the same for you guys?
yeah, we were probably right up there at the 200 mark. I mean, because like I came in, it was July.
Right.
I
Those summer
did take
classes are massive.
yeah, I did take a month off right after graduation to just live life as a
Your last
adult.
hurrah.
I say adult. I was just an overgrown kid.
Right.
Um, but yeah, once I came in, I mean, it was a fairly big classes. The whole shark attacks and all that was still in there, but they still weeded people down. I mean, which there
How
wasn't
many
none.
kids did you graduate?
Probably in the 150,
Wow.
160.
So I bring this up for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the Army changes the model. You guys were more of a beat down, see who lasts. When society shifted, they went to more of a how do we retain, retrain, extend the life of this person out. Maybe there's more in here than they know. Um, so we didn't lose nearly as many. Quitting really wasn't an option that I don't necessarily agree with, but there was kids who somehow would get away with it. But let's say I start at 220, I would probably graduate at least 200.
and and those 200, I was getting in as a young team leader, as a squad leader, coming to me that couldn't even pass PT tests. No offense to you,
I don't disagree.
but your hands were tied because of higher legislation.
There
And
was I tried to mix the old school with the intent of the new so that and my true concern was if this kid's in my formation on the other side of this, or my drill sergeant's formation as platoon sergeants, I don't want us to be embarrassed by our problem. We can't control anybody else. There's, I mean, shit, now there's probably 7 or 8 basic training battalions. I think 2 brigades. And I was just one company. So that's a drop in the bucket. But how many, if you remember, of those 150 had 11 X-rays, or did they do the 18 X-ray back then? The straight special forces.
no, yeah, the 18X wasn't then, so it was only a 11X,
Okay.
and I think they was 4 of us in my class that had RIP contracts, but at the end of it, 3 of them had dropped. I was the only one that lasted. They they realized it wasn't for them. They thought it was, and I think that's one of the reasons Drill Sergeant Melions um, pushed me as hard as he did. I mean, he didn't want somebody that's going to quit wearing the same scroll as he is because of
100%.
everything that he did. I mean, he burned in Panama and like on the jump and was
Right.
told he would never run again. And this dude was a gazelle and like ran circles around everybody, did road marches barefooted. Like he he was an absolute beast.
Oh, how things have changed.
Oh, 100%.
So again, we get back to the numbers. I bring this up because I want things to be in perspective. Greg, you've been the 1% of the 1% your whole life. But so many people, especially in today's society, they hit a road bump. I alluded getting to this in the intro. A little bit of trauma, a little bit of adversity, maybe a lot. However, just as your drill sergeant showed you, you can use that as a crutch for the rest of your life. Or you can use that as, hey, I might have to hit the reset button for a moment. However, this doesn't define me. It's just an opportunity for growth. So we get to RIP. What were you guys pushing through at RIP?
Um, we started out, I think, with 60 something, but we only graduated maybe half of that.
No
Um,
surprise. So, and then obviously from there, and at this point, Ranger Regiment was a tier 2 unit, correct?
yeah.
They weren't technically tier 1, which for the listeners at home that don't understand our jargon, and I have no experience in this, it's in the culture. Tier 1 is the elite of the elite, the Delta Force, Team 6 guys, and Ranger Regiment, and some Special Forces units, from my understanding. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then the foreign counterparts, the SAS, the Canadian Special Forces, etc. So, and then everybody else, most of Special Forces, because their job is to teach the indigenous local populations. They're not necessarily always used as direct action force. And then a majority of your SEAL teams are your hitters, but you're not team SEALs or dev group for the old guys. So you moved through that. How long did you stay in 375?
I stayed there through my first enlistment. Um, and then, I mean, I now went a lot of places in a lot of schools, but I wanted to see more than just Georgia. Um, no offense. I mean, I retired. I'm living in Georgia. But being a country boy born in the mountains of North Carolina, growing up in Northwest Georgia, and then I'm stationed in Georgia,
Right.
I was ready to see more than just here. I mean, yeah, I went
I
to some
don't blame
really cool places while stationed there, but I reenlisted and left. Is it one of those things I look back on that I wish I would have stayed? Yes and no. Because of the experiences and the more, bye, buddy. Because of the experience and the more cultural awareness and the things that I learned, because I learned different aspects from different leaders and saw different things than I would have if I'd have just stayed in the SOCOM platform.
Right.
And so I reenlisted and I went to Hawaii. Um, I that what was funny is I was trying to reenlist to go to the 82nd because all I'd ever
Right.
heard of 82nd badass airborne unit, blah
Of
blah.
course.
They've got all this, and my recruiter or the reenlistment is like, "Hey, 82nd will always be there, and you can always get it. Hawaii is open. Why don't you go there?" And I was like,
That was
"Oh, boy."
probably good guidance.
Yeah, and it was, and I went there, and I got some phenomenal schools. Plus, I mean, who wouldn't want to live on Hawaii for 4 years? Some people hate it, some people love it. I actually loved it because I used it to my ability. I did everything that you could possibly do while in Hawaii, from ski to snorkel to learn to scuba dive to cross country runs to mountaineer. I mean, everything, and island hop. Uh,
Right. Now I imagine when you're in Hawaii, at this point, we don't really have any major conflicts, right?
No, no.
So were you
Well,
doing their current mission
leading
set? They kind of
leading
jump
up.
around
So leading,
Japan, etc. Were you doing any of that?
yeah, we were going a lot of places, but I'll backtrack just a little bit. So if it hadn't, I think if I hadn't have been in the Ranger Regiment at the time, because right after I got in, we were under Clinton
Right.
and the whole big downsize of the military.
Right.
So there were so many people I knew that went to other units that wound up getting kicked out because they downsized. So I was able to stay in. So now fast forward, we're over in Hawaii, and while we were there, I mean, we're still training like we're for any big conflict that could possibly happen, but we're still using old school trench warfare and everything.
Yeah.
But we went everywhere. I mean, I went to we would go to Japan, we'd go to Malaysia, we'd go to Alaska. We did a lot of training, Big Island, just pushing different scenarios and different aspects on things. So it was an eye opener again, and got the experience of a lot of different cultures and different places that I never would have if I had not left regiment.
Curious, up to this point in your career, what was your favorite place that you went to as being a backwoods Southern boy? You really got exposed to a lot of the world really, really fast.
I mean, at this point, I mean, it wasn't until after my first deployment that I went. I know I'll get there. Went to a place that it's turned into my favorite place. But everywhere I went was just something new, and it was um, amazing. Now, like I went to Malaysia and went through Malaysia tracking school, and if you've ever watched a movie where they're trying to focus on something, they tunnel vision something down. When this instructor started talking, we're in a wide open field, and he's like, "Okay, which way did they go?" And he started talking, and then once he started pointing things out, it all funneled in, and I could see the exact tracks. Um, that was cool, but like going to Japan and experiencing and not just being there for training, because I had the opportunity to go live with different like educated and wealthy people. They had this whole program. I don't know how I got picked. I, my dad told me I'm the most luckiest, unluckiest person he's ever met because I've always been in the right place at the wrong time, and that goes both ways. But I got to experience the cultures of that country, and not just the military side of it, but normal civilian and the way that they treated people. Um, and then going to
Never even heard
Alaska,
of that, so that's pretty damn cool.
yeah. And then like going to Alaska again, country boy didn't realize that Alaska had 24 hours of sunlight. We come in, we get time off, we're in the bars, in the clubs, we leave. I'm like, man, we weren't in there very long. It's still daylight. Now we're in 23 hours of sunlight. So,
Oh, that's a shock to the system.
yeah.
So at this point, have you deployed at all? We're on your second re-enlistment.
Nope, haven't deployed. While I was in Hawaii, we were training. We were out at the Mount site. I'm attacking the Mount village, and these vehicles come rolling up through my Mount village. So I think
Right.
it's reinforcement. So I turn the attack on them. We start firing, and then they're yelling ceasefire, and that's when we find out that the towers have fell and that the world's under attack.
So
America's
what's the mood like at this point? Active duty, you're literally in a training environment.
so I'm getting cold chills, not just on my arms, my legs, because like I mean, when they came in and started telling us all this, like I mean, yeah, we've been training, we've been in the field for weeks, and they're like, hey, everything's going real world now,
You've
and
been in
so
it this year, at this point, 7 years with not a whole lot of, yeah, it's been fun, but it's all truly just games.
yeah, it's all been just games. I mean, a lot of schools, a lot of different countries trained in, and now I'm fixing to realize like, hey, everything that I've worked for and trained and I'm fixing to put it in real perspective and see if what I've been taught and what I've been teaching my men it is truly what's going on. And so, yeah, they was fear there. If you say you weren't scared, you're lying because now because before all the training scenarios, either a beep went off because we just got shot and we got Miles gear on,
Right.
or they
The
came
big
through
game
and
of laser tag
tapped
that's
you on the
immaculate.
shoulder. It's like, hey, here's your card, lay down. You've got a blown off leg or something like that. Now you're fixing to have real people shooting back at you. So those side of things. But it wasn't until they brought us back out of the field and started handing out live ammo and concertina wire, and we're putting Humvees with 50 cals and Mark 19s at each corner of our barracks and full concertina wire around it. That it really set in, and then we got to watch on TV um, replays of everything happening, and so um, then sadness, but also anger set in, and like, oh,
Right.
we're ready to go. And in the beginning, like I didn't go anywhere. We're just pulling guard on everything you can possibly think of. They pulled our unit out of Schofield Barracks, put us in the bunker systems in the mountains. So in case anything got attacked, we were
Wow.
hidden in Bunker Six, and then we're pulling security on the hospital um, there and on the civilian living quarters is what we were guarding. It was our task. Um, now my time there was up, and I immediately came down on orders to go to the 82nd, which they told me, "Hey, you're going to go to the 82nd."
It never goes
And
away. If you're a
nope.
ranger and you're airborne qualified, you're going to take at least one tour. 87.
And as soon as I got to 82nd, they're like, "Hey, you're deploying. Here's your stuff. Here's train up." I mean, and my unit was already gone. I showed up and deploy late in the game on that first one,
And so
and
when did
so
you go over there? Was that 04?
no, 01, 01, 02.
Okay. And this is Afghanistan?
Yep,
Okay.
and then 03, 04 was my second deployment.
Both with the 82nd.
Yes, with two different units.
So I think it's important to highlight because this just really doesn't exist anymore from my understanding. At this point, you've been in 3 airborne units. And if I remember correctly, every unit you were in was an airborne unit,
Ex-
except LERS.
except for Hawaii,
Okay.
it wasn't an airborne unit unless you were in LERS unit there,
Okay.
which I tried to go get in the LERS unit, and my company wouldn't release me. So the sergeant major's like, "Hey, there's scout opening up," and so I went to scouts. Uh,
Now, LERS is kind of a lost concept from my understanding.
it is now.
It was a Vietnam thing.
Yep, it was LERS.
And why I bring that up. So my company, Echo First and 50th, was a reboot of that company in Vietnam. And they were attached to Ranger Regiment back in the day. And then it kind of went away because the long range surveillance, obviously technology has improved drastically. We don't have to necessarily put bodies in front of our friendly soldiers. We don't even necessarily know where they're at, what they're giving us.
Well,
This is what's going on.
being a worse guy, and even knowing the technologies, I look back at the old LERPs, even the 80s, 90s, early 2000 um, LERS guys, but and then the technology when they decided to stand the stuff back up, the companies back up. No matter what kind of aerial unmanned stuff that we have, and we drop bombs, you're still not going to get a full battlefield assessment without boots on the ground.
I agree. But a lot of
And I
people
mean,
don't
yeah,
understand what this actually means, let alone meet somebody who did it, because it's such a small subset of the infantry. So if you
it
wouldn't
is.
mind kind of explaining what the process was. I know we're
So
fast forwarding 15 years at this point, but
so a LERS unit, we work. It's small man teams. We work behind enemy lines to not as direct contact, because our main mission is not to get in contact. We want to hide, um, whether it's doing subsurface or surface hide sites to where enemy we can't be detected, but we move in under pitch black, dig these sites, and you'll have a hide site and a surveillance site, with a three-man team in the surveillance site and a three-man team in the hide site with your team leader. And whether depending now there is target interdiction stuff, but the main purpose of LERS is to gather intel, pictures, soil samples if it has to be, terrain, routes, key objectives that we think might be coming into those areas, all that. And then there's short sat windows that open up. So after that first three-man team gathers intel every so many hours, because we have windows open up, they'll take all those pictures and videos, write a small report, condense it, send it up in the SAT. It'll come back down into the hide site. I'll download it because the window's open. I'll then take those pictures, I'll revamp them, add all the details and stuff that I have, and then when the next com window opens up, I send it up to higher, so that the people over the entire battle zone know, like, hey, this is what's going down. So while we're there, we don't have any backup. We don't have any aerial support. We can't call in for fire. We can't do any of this. It's a 6-man team that's out there alone. And now we carry all of our food, all of our water. We carry enough ammo if we were to get into a fight, but we're trying to not get into a fight. And then if we were to get found, we have claymores that are set to blow across a triangle over the top of our hide sites to get rid of anybody and everything that's there. And then we have go bags that we take and we get him out and get off the objective. Now
So
the
what I'm hearing,
problem with this is these teams are the way they should work is it all should be all NCOs,
right?
and these lower ranks, but everybody has to be trained. So, but they're like, well, isn't that what special forces is before? Because we're working in small teams. Yes and no. Special forces is out there to train indigenous people in these small teams with NTOs, and we're gathering intel.
So I want to pause you for a second, because what I hear, and the only reason I know this, my mentor in high school was unknowingly until about 2 months ago, was a part of MACV in Vietnam. Now I figured this out when I heard another interview from a guy that I actually had on my triathlon team, Dick Thompson. He's out in Benton, and he's a part of MACV. So what you're explaining to me sounds a lot like the MACV principles of, did you guys wear a different set of camouflage? Did you kind of play by a different set of rules? Maybe you grew your facial hair out a little bit or had longer hair, or, you didn't really fit the mold because you had to blend in. Worst comes to worst, I'm as best I can. I'm a local. Is that what that from my understanding, that's the history of this unit?
Yes and no. Like, we can't necessarily wear different uniforms because of the whole rules of engagement and all that. You can't fight, especially we couldn't be wearing their uniform or anything like that, because that's entrapment, and that goes against the whole Geneva Convention. But we did grow beards out. We did play a little bit different rules, and that's where things got tricky, because we're taking when we're briefing, we're given an objective of what we got to do. Us as a 6-man team has to plan all this at a normal company, battalion, brigade level with all their assets, their S1, S2, all that comes in. Everybody's given a different task. Now we're doing all that as a
fully
6-man
functioning
team.
battalion, 6-man.
Yes, as a 6-man team, and then we got to brief colonels, generals, and that's who we have to brief this mission on. Right. Now, at the end of the day, nobody out there wants to sign off on that risk assessment to send that 6-man team in behind enemy lines with no reinforcements, all that. Which, if you're trained properly,
And
they're
why
signing
is
off
that?
on these same missions for 6-man SF teams or 2-man
Right.
tag teams to go behind it. But because everybody's not an E6 or higher, they're like, oh, we're not signing off on this. But the training that we were putting our guys through and the training that we went through, it could be done, but higher up officers wouldn't want to sign off. And that's why it kind of got away. It came because you need those eyes on the ground and we need this mission. But as our military got more relaxed and softer, so to speak.
Well, in top heavy, we had a ton of officers.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not as many young senior NCOs that were willing to tell the junior and senior officers, sir, you fucked up. I'm bottom line. And you need to let us do our jobs and trust that we are ready to do our jobs. Your job is to oversee and sign for things. Our job is to conduct mission.
Mm-hmm.
So you were with Lurs twice or just the second time?
And yeah, I stood that company up. Was a team leader, which a team leader in a Lurs is your E6,
Right.
should be E7 position. And
Just
then
for the audience, I just want to clarify. This is in Lewis, correct? You're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
When you were with the 82nd, what were you doing?
I was with I got there initially. I was a team leader on in a squad, and then became a squad leader on the second deployment.
And you were E5 and then an E6?
Yes.
Okay. What's that like? You go from games, Georgia, travel, Hawaii, travel. Oh shit, towers just fell. Now this is real world. You're an E5. So what do we say, 22? Give or take?
To 2001,
How old are you at this point?
21. No,
Okay.
20. Let's see here. 18.
You went in 94.
I'm 25.
Okay. Never been to combat. Have your senior leaders been to combat?
So yes. Some of them had already been to Afghanistan, but a lot of them were Desert Storm.
Okay.
I still had Somalia, Panama,
But a
Grenada.
much different vibe, right?
Yeah.
We were fast attack, smash, get out.
Yep.
Now you're there. We've been there at least 12 months. You're probably looking back on it, doing a lot of, hey, this is what these guys did. I only know this from my experience, and I never deployed. I want to make that very clear. But I remember the mentality was whatever was done before was fucked up. We are going to do exactly something different, even if what they did was perfectly fine. And I think the phrase that I've heard was we basically fought a 20+ year war 20 times a year at a time and constantly changed the approach with no continuity within reason because the threat would constantly change. And then, well, it worked this way before, doesn't work that way anymore. And a lot of ego as us young infantrymen have. So,
well, and that's one of the things. I mean, yeah, when we got over there, we're realizing. I mean, we're going into the war, non-up armored Humvees, all this stuff, old body armor, flak vest, Vietnam style stuff, and then we're realizing like, hey, they got roadside bombs.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. What was the main threat at this point?
So in Afghanistan, it was. I mean, you had IEDs, but it was the copper core.
The punch through charges.
Yes,
Yeah.
and delayed charges. So I mean, they're setting them off to stop our patrols and then open up ambushes. I mean, similar with guerrilla warfare tactics, but they would do it and run. Some of them would stay there, but we're riding around in all these non-Under Armour soft skin vehicles, and
So
they're
I'm laughing because the question is, you're now an E5. You still have the mindset, and understandably so, of we're being told to do things, but this doesn't probably make a lot of sense.
yes, a few of that, and that's one of the things that helped me and got me pushed in to a squad leader position. And I'm not trying to boost my head or my ego or anything, but I was having growing up in regiment and then growing up with these hard chargers and then other units that have seen things in a different perspective, and then seeing all different types of leadership style. I learned firsthand that, like, hey, not everything that I'm going to say is might not necessarily be the best plan of action. So once I realized that and then started I'd be, hey, this is what we're doing. You, Joe Snuffy, Private Nothing, all the way to my senior spec fours. What do you think? How would you do it and why? And then I would listen to it and go back and forth. And I would take, okay, yes, that sounds good, but this is why it won't work. Or yes, I didn't think of it in that perspective. That does work. And then I'd revamp it. And so I used that type of leadership, pushing it forward into even the people that were above me, like, hey, you're wanting to go straight into this. We're not fighting Vietnam or anything anymore. They're using pressure plates, they're using things, and we're being trained on that. But some of the higher guys still had that. Oh, this is the way it is in training. This is the way it is in the book.
They know what they know.
Yeah, this is the plan. We're sticking to the plan. And as we both know, it doesn't matter if it's a military plan, a civilian plan, whatever you're doing. That plan's only good until it's not. And
Right.
once you realize you can have a plan, but that plan is continuously growing or adding to, then that's when the entire mission can be a successful mission, because you can change that plan on the fly to adapt and overcome of what you're seeing in front of you or what might be happening that not necessarily was in the original plan, but you adapted and overcame to it. And that's what the entire global war on terrorism has. And that's why we finally pushed all these. First, we're welding sheet metal, half-inch steel, three-quarter-inch steel all over the Humvees. We're having to put bigger springs on them because this is weighing it down. We're having to put FMLA turbo motors in regular Humvees to give it more power.
Right.
We're putting ballistic blankets and sandbags in, and then that grew in. And then we had the old school before we had any of this mine detection stuff, realizing, hey, if we put this metal plate out in front of us with a spark plug on it, that's the heat source, and that's going to set off and trip this mine and blow up in front of us, so it's not a direct thing. So that was the progression and the learning
How
through the
long did it
war.
take for you guys to figure that stuff out? Some of that I've never even heard of. The spark plug thing, never even heard of it before.
So if you ever look back in some old pictures, you'll see Humvees. They got a metal rod sticking straight up. It looks like a flag coming off the front of it.
Okay.
All that is a metal bar that we would lay down and a wire and a spark plug in there, so it build up heat in that little front compartment, to where, because some of these some of the things that would trip it wasn't just pressure plates, but it was the heat from the engine is what would set the mine off. So these were tripping it so that it would direct these
Go off in
directional
front of you.
go off in front of us, or hit the front of the vehicle and still save everybody, and not necessarily kill everybody in the vehicle.
Now,
And
I want to
all
make
that,
the point here. So 02, 03, correct?
yes,
Okay. You've done 94, enjoyed yourself. done the schools, got the badges, verified you are successful. 2 points. Through any of that, as you just talked about, how you were planning, we later come to find that as a doctrine called mission command. However, I would imagine the Army that you grew up with, your input as a lower guy didn't mean shit. So when did you start changing your leadership style from do this or I'm going to put hands on you to, hey, Private Snuffy, you may not have a lot of life experience, but does this pass the common sense test for you? Where does that transition take place?
That actually happened to me like in 2001 when I was in Hawaii.
Okay.
Just because like I'm like, I can be this dick and be this hard charger, and yeah, they're going to listen to me just because I'm belittling them and bringing them down. But what I'm saying, because of what I've been taught and the leadership I've had before me, because that's what they were doing. But I was still at times like, yes, I'm having to listen because I'm lower ranked. But if we took this off, I'm going to beat your ass in my mind. That never happened. But I realized like not I wasn't changing it to where kindness is weakness. I'm changing it to where the whole common sense, keep it simple, stupid, but still have that mentality and that strong structural leader to where like, hey, they're going to follow me into battle because they now respect me. They're not just following me because I'm telling them to. They're following me because, hey, what I'm saying, and I'm bringing them into the fight and growing them as leaders. So if something was to happen to me, they're going to follow my steps of like, hey, I don't have to come in this blind. I can now use everybody around me and use the little bit of knowledge and the skills that everybody has instead of me trying to be the subject matter expert on everything. You're bringing everybody into that loop. And then I carried all that forward, and even leaders around me started seeing that were still some of the old school.
That was my next question.
Yeah. And
How
so
did how did they adapt? Because if they grew up in the older era, man, your
because
opinion didn't matter until you achieved, I would guess what, squad leader, platoon sergeant.
yeah, back in the day, that's the way it was. I mean, if you if you weren't in a team leader, squad leader, platoon sergeant position, like you were just a follower. You did what you were told to do, and that's all you did. And you better be doing it before we told you to do it because you're supposed to. And like, don't ask questions, just do it. And that's where in today's society, to have the best of the best, or to have a good soldier, have a good leader, you got to have that critical thinking. And if you didn't instill that into them as a young private through their as they progress through the ranks, then all of a sudden ranks thrown on them, and then they have to do this critical thinking. All they know of is okay, this is what sergeant so and so, squad leader so and so, platoon sergeant so and so, all he did was beat us down. That's the type of leader I'm going to be, and that's not necessarily the type of leader that is going to be good for everything. Yeah, they're going to follow you because you're beating them down. But when you start making them feel like they're part of the team because they are part of the team and using some of their input, but you're explaining if their input doesn't match up, you explain to them like, hey, I like your frame of mind. I like your thinking, your aspect on why you would do this, but this is the reason that it might not necessarily work. And then you give them the pros and cons, and then you keep going, you're planning, okay, somebody else, and then somebody else gives you something that you didn't think about because we're all human. We're not going to catch every little thing. We're going to go over it and try to dot our I's and cross our T's in the planning process, but not everything's going to be there. And when you can see different avenues from different people, from different backgrounds, different cultures, different age groups, and then now you're like, okay, this is going to work, and this is why it's going to work, and this is our plan, this is our backup plan, this is plan C if this was to hit the
There's
fan.
our base plan.
Yeah, and then here's our egress route if it all goes to shit. But now you've literally got the best plan you could possibly have because you have more eyes on it, more input, and now everybody feels like they're part of the team. So bringing that forward when I finally deploy and everything, and I'm calm and collected now. I'm not this rage like this guy with a ranger tab that all he has built up is rage. But that was some of the leadership that I first had,
Right.
and it was just we lead by rage, lead by authority. Not nobody respected you, and so now I'm bringing all that in. I'm calm and collective because I have all this. I'm not overly stressed. So when the shit hit the fan, I'm able to stay calm and collective. My men are able to stay calm and collective, and people are going to follow you because
Right.
you're calm and collective. And
So
then that helped
I want to put a pin in
push
this for a
forward.
second. We're gonna come
Okay.
back to this. Think through your basic training experience. And I appreciate the hard charging. I understand to an extent why you get hands put on you. But in that exact same model, which you have been able to make decisions like you are describing, or even felt that if I gave my input, it would be taken seriously.
Okay. Going all the way back to basic.
Private quarrels
Yes.
with mission
What I
command, would that have worked in that scenario?
no, I think at that point you're coming in and yes, you're trying to teach them and all that, but what you're trying to figure out is, am I going to have a guy that I can trust to not quit on me? Is he physically fit? All that, because once he leaves basic,
I agree.
goes to
I'm
all these
just
other things.
I'm just curious from somebody who experienced it. I didn't experience it.
Yeah, I think basic training needs to be, yes, I mean you're there to learn to shoot and all that, but it should be stressful and it should be hard. Make them quit now before you waste all this money on them later down the road. They're going to quit or desert. Have them do it that in basic training
I agree.
because
Again, I've been told brigade commanders and above, the new intent is we start the team building day one.
and
I appreciate the idea, but my personal thought is I need to strip away to get everybody on baseline before I start taking input as a teammate. Because you
yes,
haven't proven that you share or understand the Army values, the way that our system works. And we're almost taking for granted whatever you learned at home is now valuable. Well, unfortunately, from the kids that I got, and sometimes they were grown ass men. I call them all kids. Some of them were older than me. They were escaping or hitting a reset button on life of clearly what I did here is not going to work moving forward. I want something better. So I kind of see the mix, but I
so
never got stood on, hands put on. So I just was curious your perspective on that.
stood on, hands put on. Yes, it broke us down, and yes, we had people quit. We had people go AWOL in basic training. But I can tell you, everybody that was in my graduating class, I knew without a shadow of a doubt they were going to be the ones that would stay there and fight. They were the ones that joined the military to fight for this country. They didn't join it to get disability and go fake an injury or
Right.
lay down when the shit hit the fan.
Right.
That's not this whole, oh, we got to have this many people in the military. No, we don't, because you can have this many people in the military, but only half of them fight is a true fighting force. Then you're wasting all this money, time, and effort on this other half when this is the ones, regardless of you've got this many people, these are the ones that are going to fight the war for you. These
I
are
would
filling
agree.
slots, taking away, costing us money, time, and all that, and they have no respect or discipline. And these are the ones that are hard chargers. Because at the end of the day, our military isn't a 9 to 5 job. Our military
Correct.
isn't a job that we come in and we get all these benefits because we deserve them. No, we earn these benefits, but everybody thinks, oh, I'm coming in as a private. I should get the respect as a platoon sergeant or as a captain. No, you're still a private until you go through the ranks and you earn all that. You're not an SF operator or ranger until you go through the pipeline or go through the schools. Like all that can be taught, but what you can't teach is the heart and determination that are true
Right.
fighters, those World War II, Vietnam, up through the 70s, 80s, 90s.
They're a different generation
Yeah,
of
different generation, but our military, and you go back and look at the Secretary of War, he's
right.
trying to push back and get us back into that. Yes, I'm old school, so I'm biased on the way we learned it, but that's what we were founded on, and that's what our
I
military is
agree.
all about. It's not about like, oh, I feel this way, so you need to lower the standards because I can't meet those standards. No, either meet those standards or you don't need to be here. You want equal opportunity, equal employment, go to the civilian world where these companies are offering that. Our military is here to protect the rights and our country. And so, yeah, I get a little heated on that side,
No.
but
They, again, I'm always just curious the different perspectives because I only know what I know, and then everything else I'm reading in history books and learning on podcasts. So fast forward, it's deployment number two, 1 and 2. At this point, what is it like? I'm imagining you haven't necessarily lost any brothers yet.
yeah, we have.
So how quickly does that happen into
Uh,
number one?
um, almost immediately.
Okay.
As soon as we're on the ground, I mean, all the way up to not just younger brothers, but like, I mean, my first sergeant had the back of his head blown out. Uh, and was a CAG operator. Came down to do first sergeant time.
Okay.
Full hard charger, going all the way into now we're in the second deployment. I came into that second deployment because an entire squad leader, team leaders, all that got killed. So now I'm coming over into a new platoon because they just lost all these people. And so I'm taking over on this. And then while we're there, we were losing people. I mean, from IEDs to gunshots to mortar rounds coming in. I mean, you name it, it was happening.
So within the first and second deployment, how many people are now bracelets and
Um,
reminders?
Probably 10 to 15.
How did you
Um,
process that from again, it was kind of Candyland for a few years, enjoying yourself
yeah,
traveling. Towers fall, shit gets real, and now you lost 10 to 15 brothers in arms. That's a big shift.
it is. And and some people will say like I'm not right, like because I don't stress. I don't know if that is a shock and a PTSD scenario, but I honestly think it was bred into me because of some of the leaderships that I had through my career, starting off with, I mean, my SF and Ranger Bat drill sergeants, all the way into my RIP instructor was um, one of the main guys that he's now a chaplain. Um, and if you read any books, Strucker, he's one of the main characters in the movie. All that. So he was my RIP instructor and taught me things. And then later on my second deployment, he was my chaplain because he found God after Somalia and now became a chaplain. He's a huge inspirational speaker. He would be a phenomenal guy to have on your podcast to talk to because of everything he saw. But going through, I don't know. I've just, not that I don't have a heart or anything like that. I'm just, when crap hits the fan, I'm calm and collective, and I guess I just compacted everything because I had the mission had to go through no matter what was going on, and I had men that counted on me to lead them, and if I'm freaking out, then they're going to freak out. So I never showed any of that. It wasn't until after my eighth deployment and now being off the alpha teams, and now I'm not leading troops, I'm not instructing troops. I don't have a purpose. I don't have a mission. My purpose now is to look after me. I haven't looked after me since I was in high school, and I wasn't even
The month
then.
off
My mama
between
looked after me.
graduation and basic training.
Yeah, and then now is when Pandora's box starts opening, and now all this stuff that a lot of people feel immediately, I'm starting to feel, and I never felt any of that through any of my deployments. Like literally, yeah, I'm sad this happened, but I can't dwell on this. I either got to save your life and keep fighting, or if your life, like we couldn't save your life, I still got to keep fighting. And I got men that are following me through this fight, and so that's all I did was push forward. Um, and it wasn't until years and years later that now Pandora's box is starting to creep open, and I'm now fighting these demons and seeing who I truly am and not knowing who I am or what my purpose or my mission is. And my best friend now turns is become a um, handle of alcohol a night, and I'm a functioning alcoholic that nobody even knows that I'm drinking because I'm still able to function. And nightmares and terrors and sweats and angry outbursts, all this is now is what's happening in 2015.
Wow. And at this
And
point, are you in the SRU at Benning?
yeah, I'm now in the SRU. I'm having surgeries. I'm disgruntled. Um, I look at myself as a loser because I can't lead soldiers anymore. I can't kick people in the chest and shoot them in the face because I'm broken.
The loss of identity.
Yeah, I've lost all identity. All I've now, because I went from being this physically fit hard charger to having all these surgeries, and the military's way of coping with it, all these medications that one made me gain weight, two put me in zombie mode, and but three didn't help me anyway in my head. And so I'm still fighting everything, but and having to deal with all this. And it literally wasn't until this OT was like, "Hey, you're going to get on that bike," and I looked her in the face. I'm like, "You realize I've got multiple spinal cord fusion. I can barely stand up right here because of vertigo, and you want me to get on a bike?" She goes, "Not that one, idiot. That one with three wheels that you won't fall over on." I'm like, "Okay." So I get on it and I start riding a couple of miles every day. And then I'm like, "Okay, I can actually do something." And this was in 2014. Um, so I rode for a couple of months. It was wintertime, riding 10, 15 miles max at a time. We go on Christmas break, come back, and the same OT is like, "Hey, I've signed you up for the Gulf Coast Challenge." I was like, "Okay." And I'm not a cyclist. I'm wearing freaking like I'm going on these rides. I'm wearing sweatpants and tennis shoes, all this. And so now I'm like, okay, what's the Gulf Coast Challenge? Well, I don't ask that until the day I get there. They're like, oh, I'm thinking we're going on a ride because we're going to Atlanta. They're like, no, this is a 5 day ride from Atlanta to New Orleans. Day one, we start off in the rain to sleet to freezing weather, and I'm in cotton sweatpants, tennis shoes. By the time I got to a Grange, I couldn't feel my feet, any of that. I'm freezing. We get to back to Benning because we rode from Atlanta to Benning that night. I go get cycling shoes, rain suit, like all cycling. This was my introduction to cycling. But
Oh,
what really changed my outlook and my everything in life, it was two gentlemen on the same ride. One guy named Tim Brown, Marine EOD, triple amputee, and another guy named Devlin. Tim
now,
Brown rode a hand cycle.
that was my question. So he's got one hand.
He's got part of one hand.
Okay. And then what, a claw or a hook?
Yeah, he's got a strap that comes around and hooks in, but he's faster than 99.9% of all the upright riders. Ungodly fast. And then there's a magnitude of other athletes in there, and I'm not taking anything away, but then there's Devlin, quad amputee,
Okay.
or prosthetics, riding an upright bike. When they told him, "Hey, we want you to come ride," he's like, "Well, I'm not riding a hand cycle." They're like, "You don't have any arms or legs. You have to." He's like, "You figure it out. You want me to ride?" And so for over 2 years, through R&D, through multiple bike companies and prosthetics and doctors, they fabricated all the equipment needed for him to ride. Was he
Do you
fast?
do you have photos of these gentlemen? I'm definitely, if we can find some, I want to overlay them just to give the people an idea of what we're talking about.
I know I can get some pictures. At that point, I wasn't taking a lot of pictures.
Okay.
But I know people that have them, and me and Tim are friends. I can get plenty of pictures from Tim. I've never seen Devlin since then, but from January 2015 to now, I tell everybody this story, and I've told Tim numerous times since then. Like, you changed my life. Like, seeing you two guys made me realize, like, I have nothing to cry about. I have nothing, and it doesn't matter what injury or illness that you have, whether you're born with it, you acquire it in war, you acquire it in a vehicle accident, or you get sick or born with some a disease. You are the only one that's stopping you from doing anything. Those sickness and all that, and those two individuals is what really showed me. And I'm like, I'm over here complaining, and these guys don't have any arms. Yes, I've got injuries that are internal, and I have a lot of metal in that a lot of people don't know. But I'm fused from C3 through C6, L3 through 5S1, left wrist, rods, pins, screws, plates, right left shoulder reconstruction with bicep relocation, right ankles fused. But you guys are doing all this with a smile on your face. And I've never looked back since that day. I've only looked forward, and I from being that person that everybody's out there trying to help. I wanted to become that person that is trying to help other people and trying to show. And yes, I mean, every day I'm still proving things to myself and realize that I can do more and more. But it would have never happened had it not been for those OTs pushing me, and then these athletes, me seeing them. And that's what's given me my purpose. It gave me a mission. It gave me a purpose. It let me know that I can be part of a team, that I can be competitive, and that the sky's the limit, and that our life isn't over because something changed and we're not that person. What I had to eventually realize is, yes, I'm not that person that I was. but I am that person that I am now and that person that I'm going to be tomorrow, the next day, 1 year, 10 years, 15, 20 years from now. And I just have new goals. So, yes, while I was in the military, I had this big lifelong plan, 30 years and all these different steps that I was going, goals, right? That chapter of my life closed, and I had to realize, hey, that chapter's closed. Let's write a new chapter based off of the person that I am now and what I have in front of me. And once I realized that and realized that, hey, there's not just one door leading in and out of our life, there's a plethora of doors, and it's up to us which one of them doors we're going to go through or how many we're going to go through. That anything's attainable once we put our mind and our heart to it. Everything
Well,
can be learned except for those two things. You got to have that heart. We all have it. We just got to figure out
how to
how to
access it.
how to access it. And once we realize that nothing around us, we can't control anything around us.
Mhm.
But what you can control is the 8 inches from ear to ear, what's up here. When we take control of that, then there's nothing out there in front of us that we can't do.
Man, now we really went forward, and I appreciate that.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine because you just brought up something that I preach all the time. It's control the controllables. And once you realize that's not a whole lot and accept it, I think is the hard part. Because, and I'm curious how you handled this transition. In the military, I found I made so many control, attempt at control mechanisms. Well, that doesn't transition to the real one.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you make 100 plans of scenarios, almost none of them, if maybe one or two of them even happen. So we spend so much mental energy, and it doesn't feel like it at the time, but I would say stress, trying to outthink and outmaneuver all the stuff that I've almost found now. It's a lot easier to show up prepared to an extent and then just kind of roll with it. How did you, one, I'm curious, do you agree? And two, how did you successfully make that transition from probably borderline control freak to, hey, God, it's all you. I'm just going to be, I'm going to let God be God. I'm going to let Greg be Greg. And everything else is what it is. I had a really difficult time understanding that.
So, like I told you before, I was this very calm, collective
On the
attitude.
outside, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was on the inside too. I just
Okay.
didn't know
Okay.
that all that other stuff was buried down here until all that was taken away. Once all that opened up, and yeah, I mean, and it's still there. I mean, I'm still fighting, and that's recovery is a never-ending process. But once you can realize that and take control, realize that you can take control of yourself and all that, that's when things change. But knowing, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It was
Of course.
um a slow process, and knowing that, hey, we can't control these things. But when you become when I finally realized, like, hey, I can be an athlete, I can control. I realize that I can be in control of some of these things. I can control the maintenance on the bike. I can control what kit I'm wearing, all that. So then it let me realize I am in control of some of these things, but the rest of it, I just have to let it go. Everything happens for a reason. And I've been a big believer on that. And
I agree.
we have paths. We might not necessarily understand those paths, and they happen for a reason, whether it's to teach us something or teach other people things. And I kind of just live by that
Kind of almost
rule.
go where the wind takes me to
Yeah.
an extent. Yeah, I
Um,
feel the same
and
way. So I
hold on.
appreciate the go, please. Well, one, I appreciate the vulnerability for two reasons. You went from hard charger, which I would say you still are, but now it's balanced. But that balanced approach doesn't always work, I think, in the military. Maybe until a senior rank, because it feels like you always have something to prove. I don't know if you felt the same way. But again, and this was the hardest lesson for me to learn, was the infantry is so ego driven
Mhm.
that like that doesn't work in the real world. Or if it does, if you try it, you are going to piss off everybody around you. And
So now, granted, I don't work for a company, all that. I mean, I guess I do because I coach um, adaptive sports and stuff. But I used my military approach of where it was competitive and it was ego driven. Like, hey, I've got to prove myself. I'm going to be the best I can to get on this OML so I can go to this school and this school and this school and this school to better myself, to better my education as a leader, to then take that training and pass it on to others. Now, as a home inspector, I use that same mentality. When I decided I was going to get into home inspection, I'm I throw everything into it. I'm going to go 100%. So I went to this school, and then I went to that school, and then I got my residential certification. I got my commercial certification from two different schools, and then every school in between, whether it's um, mold, asbestos, lead, whatever, anything that has to do with any mold or commercial or residential or commercial inspection, I'm going to get qualified for it. Is some of it I need? No. But when somebody looks at my resume, they're like, I'm going to follow this guy. He has all these credentials, all this. This is who I'm going to go through. And
right.
it makes me a better. And so I use that aspect in my civilian life. Now, caveat to all that and dealing with these demons and all that, I've learned that even though I look like I'm doing well and all this, and I am doing well, and I'm very calm and collective, but I'm only calm and collective if I have a task where I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I never stop, never slow down. And so that's where
Oh
I'm at
yes,
today.
and I think that's important to realize. I don't do well with idle time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you and I, again, similar, if not identical personalities. Now, as as a consumer and as your friend, I appreciate your mentality because I understand it. But I, what I mean when I bring up ego, and this might be an insecurity speaking for me, because I never achieved the levels that you did of success in the Army. So for me, what I felt was I was constantly trying to prove I was equal to the people that had the same qualifications as yourself. And so for me, operating out of that versus, so not only do I have to be better for myself, but I have to beat down others. And I don't know if you necessarily felt that because you kind of came in and you just never stopped this upward trajectory.
Well, no, but it was the same thing. I never stopped because I still had those all those tasks and everything that I had to hit uh, and be better than everybody. and back in the day, like promotions and things weren't handed out. You had to prove yourself and you had to have this and all that to get promoted and to go on. And so, yes, I mean, 100%. But one of the things that I've found out about you with all this, if you were given the same timeline as me and the same amount of time in service that I was afforded the opportunity to continue to fight through and get, you would have hit all these too. You had the heart, you had the motivation. Yes, sequences happen. Not everybody passes the same thing, but as you also know, there's quotas that we have to hit, and we say no to people in any school. So even some of the best guys,
just because.
just because, get recycled because of their number in line. It ain't.
It's funny you bring that up. I've always, and I never until this point in my life, so we're at 22 years old, I never believed in luck until I went to Ranger School. And that's when I realized, and I am in no capacity saying that I did everything right, because I have overanalyzed the shit out of those failures so many times that I know this is what I should have done differently. And I've told this story before, but I couldn't let it go to the point that I get discharged September 20th, 2019. My A bag and B bag were still packed to go to Ranger School for 2 years because I couldn't let it go. That for me, on the officer side, as you know, is you are not a truly qualified infantry officer until you have that tag.
No, and I know, and I know where you're coming from on that, but you also got to look at it as we don't excel and grow in life because of our accomplishments. We
I
excel
agree.
and grow in life because of our failures. And you, as an ultra athlete, should know that more than anybody.
I do now. I
Yes.
now accept it.
So, which I'm glad, but you also don't accept defeat and you don't accept no, and so you push forward, and that's what I'm trying to bring to you, for you to help you in your past and everything that you have built up. Like, oh, I didn't accomplish this, I didn't accomplish that. Well, everybody has a path. Now, if you were given and you were fully healthy and all that, would you have you would have stayed in? You would have went all this, and who knows? You
That
could
that was the plan,
you
but
could
then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
you may or may not. Who knows?
We agree, yes,
So,
but
but everything happens for a reason.
I agree. I agree. And again, and I shared this with you after Race Across America. For me, this whole cycling journey was to prove to myself that I needed to earn the tab in my way. I had to prove, okay, this was a fluke, and I'm going to go find the hardest thing a civilian can offer, and I'm going to accomplish that. And for the first time at the finish line, I went, I'm good with this now. I get it.
You had that aha moment.
I realize this doesn't define me, but it doesn't define me because I proved I can handle this level of stress, challenges with, I mean, as we both know, and anybody who's interested in Race Across America, we're an open book, and we were an open book at the race. That is more of a logistical challenge than
Oh,
anything.
100%.
I'm not saying you can pick any 8 riders, but within theory, you could plug 8 cyclists. And from that point, as long as you have the logistics, the train will roll along. So for me to, I was so nervous. One of my Army dad, I call So he was an Army linebacker, graduated from the academy, and then his lieutenant colonel retired, Chuck Schretzman. His children, all three of them, academy grads. One's my classmate. One was my plebe, which was my freshman that I was in charge of. She's a total badass. Still in, promoted below the zone of major, female sapper. She led one of the two Army deep dive teams. And this girl's Olivia Schretzman's a phenom. And then their youngest, she's a helicopter pilot.
Nice.
So here's why I bring that up. Pops calls me, and I think this was after my first unsuccessful attempt. And I took that pretty serious. And he called me and he said, Caleb, I got some bad news. I have ALS. Now, he was in regiment twice, if not three times. I believe company command, battalion command, and maybe as a platoon leader as well. That, along with all the blows to the head from playing football, and this was football where we didn't protect people.
Yeah.
He's now had so much brain damage from getting it blown up and his head rocked that now this monster of a man is in a wheelchair. His wife, his lovely wife, pushes him around, takes care of him. And the last time I saw them, they actually came to Las Vegas about 2 years ago. He can barely talk.
Mm.
And so, but before all of it went downhill, he said, I need you to promise me one thing. I'm a second lieutenant. He said, I need you to finish Ranger School. And I made him that promise. And then obviously I felt like I kind of reneged on him when I got medically discharged. And I apologized to him. And I said, you told me that we made this deal, that no matter where you were at in life, you would come and pin my tab. And I'm sorry. Well, when we're getting ready for the race, I called him and I just said, hey, I have no deployment experience. Done plenty of training exercises. I've never done this level of difficulty of an operation. And I feel like this is almost something of a senior company commander, battalion commander level challenge. I feel way over my head on this. And he said, everything that brought you to this point for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You can handle this. That was it. And to hear him say that, I took a deep breath. And I went, okay. If he has faith and confidence, then I'm good. And we'll figure it out. And so when we finally got to the end and I kind of embraced like, no, this isn't the Ranger tablets. I mean, this was what I needed. I can put this where it is, put it back on the shelf, use it as a lesson. And then embrace moving forward. And not live from that place of I'm not enough. Because when you're an officer without a tab, you're never treated as enough.
And yes, I do understand that. But it wasn't like you didn't put everything into it and go and try. You
Correct.
didn't quit.
Correct.
And then at the end of the day, you sustained injuries. You didn't quit.
I was training to go back
I know.
for round 3.
Hey,
So to
that's
have you
what you
guys
have to look at.
validate, hey, this doesn't define you. it's a blessing. So I appreciate that.
Because what is Ranger School? Yes, it's a leadership school, right? It's to see how far you can go and what you
Under
can do.
duress.
Yes. And what have we done and continue to do?
100%.
And so you never quit it. So that wasn't, and that's what one of the biggest things in Ranger School is quitting.
Right. Well, and
Everything on the other side, I mean, you can fail Ranger School because of somebody else. Jordanian officer, like I told you the story, recycled me, um, but I didn't quit,
right.
and I went back. Different scenarios, but the whole point is you didn't quit, and at the end of the day, you got hurt.
This is true. And coming to accept what is, and
Yeah,
then, like you said, that chapter is closed. However, it allows us to relate to our peer groups in a way that really nobody else can.
yeah.
So it's closed in we can't add to it, but we can always draw from it. Are you good? You need to take a break? I know we're 2.5 hours in.
Yeah, my wife, because my grandkids are here, so they've been calling me.
Let's finish with this. My favorite story I think that you've told. I'm just curious, what drives you get out in 2004, go to the Australian Special Forces? You decide you're going to go on that path. Obviously, you didn't come back, and we've already kind of talked through your, not just the injury, but then the reintegration and how you got to where you are today. What drove you to Australia? And then, if you wouldn't mind sharing your ocean fin story, I think that was the funniest thing I've ever heard you talk about.
So my original plan wasn't go to Australia. I was trying to go warrant officer. Um, prior prior to the two deployments of going to Afghanistan and Iraq, I had did all my flight physicals, all the flight exams passed. I had done right seat rides in different aircrafts with CW2s all the way to CW5s. I had signed CW5 recommendation letters, all that. And then everything hit the fan. We deploy. I was up for reenlistment. I was trying. So during that whole time, I was married to an Australian.
Huh.
We had went to Australia while I was in Hawaii on a deployment exercise, and I wound up. I was married to an Australian. So now, fast forward, I've deployed. I'm trying to get out. Well, I'm wanting to reenlist to go back to the unit that I was in because I had the CW5s there so that I could finish my packet and then go to warrant officer school. My chain of command, Sergeant Major, is like, you're a phenomenal NCO. You're tried and proven. We're deploying again soon after we get back, and we need you here because you're gonna move up and be a platoon sergeant. And I'm like, no. I was like, this is the career path that I'm trying to progress and better myself. I said, I appreciate this, but now I'm going to ETS. And then I would stop loss for a little while. And during that time, I wound up getting out and moving to Australia. Um, After I got there, I mean, I missed the military. It's what I'd done for the last 10 years. And that's how I wound up one day going down and seeing one of their recruiters. And then, long story short, I find out that Ranger Regiment has a liaison, E7, that does a 2 to 3 year assignment in Australia. They call him. They do all my background. He is like, yep, he has all these schools, all this. And then I wound up swearing in after an Australian background check and an FBI background check I swear in under the Queen. And they're like, well, you're not going regular Army, you're going SF. And that's when they called the Special Forces Training Center, and I start their whole pipeline. Um, get through that pipeline, and then in the amphib course. Um, During the amphib course, and that's where
This
you're
is almost
learning
the
to.
end, right?
Yeah, it's one of the last phases of the pipeline, and during that course, I'm get dropped off out in the middle of the ocean. You got to swim. Now we're in shark infested Australian waters, great whites, and you're having to navigate under zero lumen, so swimming for hours with a pack, fins on, and out the corner of my eye, I see a dorsal fin. Um, First thought through my mind is shark. And if you've
Oh
ever been
shit.
scared,
Did you shit your pants?
I peed myself. If you've ever been so scared, like you lose full muscle control, everything. I'm trying to climb up on top of this pack, thinking I can climb out of the water. But I couldn't do nothing. I'm gradually sinking because I can't control nothing. I piss myself, and about the third time it comes by, I realize it's a dolphin. And then, I mean, it got really close. I see the eye and everything. And he swam beside me. At that point, my body started loosening back up. I get muscle control. One point, I was going to reach out and touch it, and then it went through my head like, "Don't do that." They're probably watching somewhere. In reality, they were watching. Um,
That would have probably been a fail.
it
Right?
would have been an immediate fail, kicked out, never returned.
Oh,
But
thank God.
unbeknownst to me, there was great whites around. That dolphin was keeping them at bay.
Wow.
It was swimming. He was swimming beside me and swimming circles and was keeping those sharks. They said that they watched the sharks close to me, but and was ready to shoot if it got too close. I'm like,
None of
have you
this was
seen
in the
how fast a
pre-brief,
shark
right?
when they attack, how fast that they can go?
Right.
Like, but yeah. So yeah, that's one of like I think I was more scared there than I ever was during actual true combat. Like,
Wow.
but yeah, that's
So,
how I wound up in Australia. And
so one, I want to thank you for your time and your wife and your grandkids. My last question for you, minus please put me in contact with your chaplain that you mentioned, is I heard this, I believe, on a different podcast. I found it very telling. If you, if everything in life, this interview, the written word, everything is taken away, the only thing that you could impart upon whether that be the next generation soldier or your family, what would your parting thought words be for whoever that would be? Because I'm always curious. You go through so much in life, but at the end, it only boils down to a few things. What would that be for you?
so the biggest thing that I could give to anybody and leave with them is you're not alone in anything. No matter what you're dealing with or going through, you're not alone. Uh, During the best of times, the hardest of times, there's always somebody there. And no matter what you think that you're going through, there's somebody going through something even worse. But the biggest thing is to know that there's always somebody there, whether they're next door or they're a phone call away. Um, and to believe in yourself. Um, if you can believe in yourself and take ownership of everything that's going on into you and be your own advocate in your health and in your life, that I've said it numerous times, the sky's the limit. It's up to you to rewrite the chapters of your life. But the biggest thing is no matter what, who you are today, you're not that person that you were yesterday or 10 years from now. And you have to own who you are now and live your life of as the person that you are now. But know that the person that you think that you can and are better than that, and you can do anything. And there's always somebody there to help mentor, inspire, and motivate you through anything. We just have to realize no matter what we've done in life, that life is bigger than that. And pride, we have to not have so much pride. We have to be open a little bit and ask for help. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I hadn't asked for help and there hadn't have been people that have had my back and continue to have my back and that got me on the platform and the road that I'm on now. I was on that spiraling road going down, and they reversed that train, and now I've got paths that can go off in any direction I want them to, but they're all going up. Because
Successful life is a team sport.
it is because there's people that believe in me, and no matter what you're going through and think that you have, there is somebody there that is thinking about you. And you might think that the easiest way out is to do something, but guess what? You're not the only one. That's the easy way out for you, but it's not an easy way out for everybody else because it's just putting more hardship on other people. When the easy way out is to raise your hand and ask for help.
That
So,
permanent solution to a temporary problem is not.
100%.
I couldn't agree more. Well, Craig, thank you. I look forward to riding with you here in 3 weeks.
Yep.
Thank you for your brotherhood and your mentorship. And maybe we'll tell the rest of your story someday and go from there.
Hey, a story's never ending. So
Amen
I'm,
to that,
I'm
brother.
always here. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be part of Rusty Dogs of War and be part of this team and continue to grow this team.
Absolutely. And maybe we can bring your one-armed Marine in for our next event. If you're keeping track, I'm at 58 miles and 2.5. So thanks for keeping
Rock
me
on.
distracted and focused at the same time. I love you, man.
I love you,
And,
brother.
take care of yourself.
You too.
All righty. Bye-bye.